Hi, welcome back to another episode of Art World Confessions. So, today the topic I'm speaking about has to do with what you have to learn to get along in the art world or to move forward in the art world. Usually, I like to qualify everything I talk about by saying, this doesn't affect all of the art world, it's not in every part of the art market. But I think it's safe to say that these points that I'm making today have to do with every single aspect of the commercial art world. So, in the last Art World Confessions, I pointed out the fact that no one was around to help, no man was around to help at a very critical juncture in my life recently. Well, that's not exactly true, because subsequent to that video, two men who I've had a lot of friction with in my life stepped up to help me. And I had to think to myself that sometimes it's the people you have the most conflict with in life who are the ones who have the greatest lessons to teach you. And in addition to those two critical members who I call my soul family, my tribe, there were two other members of the other tribe. I won't get into the specifics right now, but they know themselves. An old friend who I've known for years and a new friend, they helped me equally as well. So one of those people who helped that I said I had a lot of friction with, I guess you could call him like a frenemy. I always said he was my friend who's my enemy who's my friend. But he has been a big mentor all of my life. And he said to me, after 30 years in New York City, you still don't know how to survive in this business. And in a lot of ways, he's right. A lot of my friends happen to be artists. Not all of them are famous, well-to-do artists. So I'm not surrounded by an insular, sort of isolated, hyper-wealthy group of people. I have friends from all walks of life. So my circle is not just a bunch of people who are collecting in and among themselves. So my circle extends much further than a group of collectors who buy and sell among themselves. Another thing I seem to have not learned is the buy low, sell high philosophy, where you buy art at a very low price and then you sell it at a very high price. So this I know from people who have had to resell works and even people who've come to me to have their works bought back after they bought it on the primary market. I have this little note here. I haven't learned to offer people way less when they come back to resell the same works that I charged them a lot more for just a few years ago, so that they leave my office with a bitter taste in their mouth about me and the art that they bought and the art world. Me trying to remember what I wrote in these notes is not going to be as good, I think, as me reading this. I haven't learned to sell my colleagues and my fellow tribesmen work in a B2B context, knowing that the work is somehow defective or in need of a certain certification that will cost them and severely restrict their profit earnings if they have to mark up the work to the selling price of the market value of the work. So this happened to a friend of mine. He asked a colleague who has a lot of works by a certain artist for work for a client. And then after they agreed on the price, he found out that the work needed some type of certificate that would cost. And he had already given the price to his client. So by having this extra burden, this extra cost, his earnings on that work based on the commission that he added was severely lowered. Now, the person who sold him this work, knowing that he had a client for it and what price he would give, should have told him, look, this needs blah, 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 blah. And he could have acted accordingly. But instead, he charged him what he knew he would make a profit from, while too bad for him, when he has to sell the work to his client, he wouldn't have the profit that he thought he was going to make. And then I those who know what I'm talking about. I have in parentheses here, they apparently didn't read the section of that forbidden knowledge book of the tribe's people, where it says you can do that sort of thing to people outside of the tribe, but not to other members of that tribe. My next point goes back to one of the episodes I did a while back. I haven't learned to wear a suit and to screw over my fellow colleagues, guys who are working with these huge banks and they have all these meetings and they're selling shares into these paintings, and then, well, they find out that they actually own nothing because the person has sold the painting so many times that the actual value of their shares means nothing. In other words, fraud. Another point I have here, I haven't learned to wear a suit and to screw over my artists. A lot of these galleries sell works of artists and then it takes them forever to pay the artist, if some of them ever get paid. I mean, some gallerists have even been sued for that. I haven't learned that as yet either. And then I go into a whole bunch of issues related to our society. But first, I'll just go backtrack a little. I haven't learned to cheat people out of their commission so they get a very small cut of the cake and I get the lion's share. I haven't learned that. I haven't learned to hoard cash while operating under this capitalist system that allows a large number of children in New York City public schools to be living in shelters. I haven't learned that. I haven't learned to cheat old men by selling them something they believed was real but was not real, or selling something they thought was an original but was a copy of another painting the collector liked but couldn't get because it was sold to someone who would not resell it. So I commissioned the gallery artist to do one just like it. So those again are real stories. These are things that happened in the art world, where a collector comes in, he likes a certain work that's on the wall. The gallerist has already sold the work, but instead of saying that the work is sold, she or he just gets the artist to do another one and sells it as if it was the one that the collector saw and liked, only to come later to find out that it wasn't the painting that he thought it was. And then, of course, again, between tribes people, you would think that they would have the honor of a code not to screw each other over. But instead, in some cases, you bring a painting to someone, you know it's not 100% correct, but you sell it to them anyways. Years later, this person, thinking they have so and so and so, goes to resell it, and lo and behold, what they bought in good faith, at a discount of course, is not the work that they thought it was. Happens all the time apparently. Well, this is another good one. I haven't learned to hover like a vulture over famous artists as they die, so I can scoop up their works as they triple in value by guarding and protecting their estate, benefiting from the rise in prices for their works that will no longer be supplied because the artist has passed away. I haven't learned to cash in on divorce, death, and debt, benefiting monetarily from the suffering and misfortune of other people with art assets who are forced to liquidate because of the 3 Ds. This one I'm going to have to speak around because, again, it has to do with the larger society as a whole, but everything is connected. So when I talk about the stuff that's happening in the art world, you have to somehow understand how it relates to what's happening outside of the art world. So I say here, I haven't learned to carry on business as usual while the country we call home throws kabooms on the heads of mostly women and children in support of a genocidal cleansing a state. I haven't learned to do philanthropy at museums and dog shelters, or to create philanthropic organizations like private museums to get my art as a tax write-off while still buying stocks or ETFs or whatever else it is, which include companies like Palantir and Lockheed Martin and Boeing, companies which carry out you know what. I haven't learned about that at all. I haven't learned to use all of these philanthropic occasions as a platform to meet all the other people who have money and want to buy art. According to Larry Gagosian in a recent CBS interview, which I linked in the community section, it's a blood sport. In reference to the art world and the art market, he calls it a blood sport. I haven't learned any of that. So I just want to read this, which I got on social media. Perhaps it was on Instagram or I don't know where, but it's from the Hampton Institute at Hampton Think. And it's replying to someone, Sam Swara at SAMSWOORA. It says, "It blows my mind occasionally you'll find one of the smartest people you've ever met working some dumb 80,000 a year job." And the Hampton Institute replies, "One of the biggest misconceptions about capitalism is that it rewards intelligence. First and foremost, it rewards privilege, being born into wealth. Beyond that, it rewards ruthlessness, manipulation, and anyone willing to exploit others. The working class is full of smart people. I think that's a great way to sum up this episode. If you think about capitalism as it's structured, if you think about the art market as it's structured, the art world, well, it can be pretty much encapsulated in that little meme right there. So thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting the bell notification so you know when I upload a new episode of Art World Confessions. Have a great week.